Good morning, children. Welcome to the online session of Sri Gokulam Public School, Guruvayur. I'm Seema Miss here today with the chapter, The Diary of a Space Traveler by Satyajit Ray. You know Satyajit Ray, children? Satyajit Ray was living during 1921. Now it is 2021. It's when 1921. And he was born then and lived till 1992. He was there. He died in 1992. He was an internationally famous Bengali filmmaker, writer. He used to even write. He was a filmmaker. He used to write the stories, like dialogues, everything. Illustrator, that means to illustrate all those things, what has to be done, and music director too. Even music is to write, is made to direct music too. Like what type of music, how it should be placed, in which situation, all this. Was a very good filmmaker. Apart from Professor Shonku's adventures, he has written, Professor Shonku was a scientist he is well versed with. So he just wrote a story about him. Ray wrote many stories, including those that the young Bengali detective fellow. They even wrote not only about space, he even wrote about detective stories like who killed whom, murdered, that, this, all these things. Some of his films are also for children. He has made films for children, such as Guppy Gayan Bhaga Byani. Guppy, like in Malayalam, you have people making. Satyajit Ray made all these things in Bengali. And Hirak Rajar Deshe, all stories. He was the son of a writer, Sukumar Ray. His father was also a famous writer. Of Sukumar Ray, his name was. So you know about Satyajit Ray. Now, let's continue from where we stopped yesterday. So where did we stop last time? Do you remember, children? Where did we stop? You know, what happened is the narrator found the ground, the trees and the ground there was stones and everything, rocks, soft and rubbery. It was soft and rubbery there. He saw that the river was red in color. And the water looked like guava jelly. You know what is guava jelly? I told you it's about that fruit, guava. Perakaya that you tell me. And jelly, the soft part of it. Red one, no? The grass and trees were all blue. Here all the water is blue, but here there it was, the grass and trees were all blue color there. Just imagine. And instead of green, and the sky was green, the sky was opposite. Instead of blue. You knew so far the story. And you knew who all have gone there. All the three of them. The robot. You know their names. There was servant Prahlad, Newton the cat, and Bidushekar was a robot. And the writer himself, the scientist himself, Professor Shonku. They all four of them had been there. And what happened there? And when they all got down, they saw everything was green. The trees and plants were blue in color, whereas the sky was green in color, and it was all soft. It was not hard stones. It was all soft. Anything you did, it was soft. And you saw in the end, last when we stopped there, that Bidushekar answered, Dhenga, Dhenga. Now, who's Bidushekar? Bidushekar was the robot. He said, Dhenga, Dhenga. Now, what is Dhenga, Dhenga? Means danger, terrible danger. Warn them, there's danger, because it's a strange place. So, Mars they have gone to. He said nothing more, nor did he want to join us. He didn't want to join us. He was not ready to come out of the spacecraft. Only Prahlad, Newton, and I. Only Prahlad, Newton, and the writer put his foot out. Martin. We have had the most terrifying experiences on Mars. They had a terrifying experience. Now let's read on from page number 30. Where terrifying means very dangerous on Mars. As they part in land means soil of Mars. They put their leg down As soon as the sun rose, the sun was rising, I left the mound where I was sitting. I was sitting on a mound, no, a mountain, a soft mountain like this. I was thinking of exploring further in bright daylight. It's daytime, so let me go out and find out things. I can see everything. No? So the writer walks off. When a strong fishy smell hit my nostrils and I heard a strange sound. Suddenly you got some fishy smell. No? That smell came into it. And he found a strange sound also. It sounded as if a large cricket was chirping loudly. Cricket, those insects which make noise, and all everywhere here, it was making tin-tree, 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 like this noise. I looked around trying to understand where the sound was coming. Suddenly I found this sound. I started looking around. But at that very moment, a terrible scream froze my blood. Suddenly a scream, sound came. It just froze my blood, means my blood became numb. It was not moving like that. I was so scared. It's a phrase. Froze my blood. That means became very scared, very much scared. Then I saw Prahlad. His eyes were wide open with fear. Prahlad also was scared. The right arm was wrapped around Newton. He was catching hold of Newton, the cat, like this giant. He was scared and he was running towards the rocket. He both ran towards the rocket back to sit in the rocket. The creature that was chasing him was not human. Someone was chasing and was not human people there. Nor an animal. It was not an animal or a fish also. All these things it was not. But something, a mixture of all these things. Yet it had something in common with all the three things. I mean, some parts of like human, some parts are like animal, and sometimes it looks like a fish also. It was about 4 feet high. 4 feet high means quite short. It had legs and feet. But instead of arms, there were huge fins. Like instead of arms, there were fins. Like, see some fins are like sort of like in the fish, you see, those sort of fins, like sort of open, like a hand, like only, but looks like a you can say as the wings of the birds, like that only it was. It had very big, its head was very big, but the head was very big. There was a single large green eye in the center of it. Just imagine, not two eyes, one big eye in the center of the head. The mouth was wide open. But there were no teeth in the mouth. Its whole body was covered with fish scales shining in the sun. Body has fish scales. Fish, you see those scales, when your mother may be cleaning the fish and all, you might have seen scales, small things. That way it was there in his body. I ran after the creature. So this scientist, he ran after that creature. I was still about 20 yards away from it when Prahlad climbed into the rocket, and I was still away behind. Vidushekar jumped out of the rocket and stood in the creature's way. Vidushekar, who's Vidushekar? The robot. He just jumped out of that time and stood in front of everything. A sudden gust of wind rose at that moment. Suddenly a wind came by, bringing with it the same fishy smell. Again the smell was coming, the stinking smell. I turned around and saw that at least 300 similar creatures were coming towards us. With 300 creatures were coming there. They were all making that horrible noise. All of them making how these insects make noise, screeching noise. It's really actually very much irritating. Vidushekar swung his arm and brought it down on the creature he was facing him. Took his arm and brought it down on the creature he was facing him. Took his arm. Who's Vidushekar? The robot took his arm and then brought it down on that creature. It flapped its wings, tack, like that, and fell to the ground. Vidushekar began moving towards the other. Then he went again to others. There were many of them. He was not going to try fight the entire Martian army on his own. He was not going to fight all on his own. He won't be able to do. Martian army on his own was he. He was only the army, nobody else here. Desperately, I pressed the switch on his left shoulder. That is page number 33. We will continue. Desperately means very, it was Robert, so it was all controlled by the remote control. I pressed the switch on his left shoulder. On his left shoulder also I made it active. Vidushekar fell down and stopped moving. He fell down, stopped moving. The Martin army was now within 100 yards. Within 100 yards it was. Their smell and noise were getting strong again and becoming stronger. The smell also and the noise was coming closer. How could I lift and remove a 90 kg robot? I called out to Prahlad, but got no reply. I called out to Prahlad, but there was no reply. I began losing the screws on Buddhu Shekhar's waist. All the screws and all started coming. It was a robot. The creatures were getting closer. The creatures were coming closer. My God. There was now about 1,000 of them. 1,000 of them coming together. I managed to separate Buddhu Shekhar's top half from his legs. From his legs, he removed the top half and dragged it back to the rocket, half of its body, and took it to the robot. Then I began pulling at its leg. Then he took the another leg and army within 50 yards. And again 50 yards, the army of them were coming. When I went back to the open door of the rocket, pulling Buddhu Shekhar's legs, I saw that Prahlad had lifted the top half of Buddhu Shekhar's body into the main cabin. At that time, Prahlad was there in the cabin. He pulled the head part of it and asked Buddhu Shekhar body, half of it, into the main cabin. I pushed up the rest and climbed into the rocket myself. I pushed myself and I climbed into the rocket. We had managed to escape from a Martin house. That time we just escaped. So this is all about so far and how they were safe and they came back to Earth. So did you know what all happens? It's all imagination, children. Those times nobody had been to Mars, but this is an imagination. But now they have searched, they have sent a spirit, a sort of a spacecraft which goes and there and finds out and says that rocks are not as rubber-like, it's hard as urine. So there are rocks and all, but no trees and all. It's a deserted area. There is water in some areas, and they have not found any living creatures, is what I know so far. And please read it. Look at the animations, understand it, and try to answer on your own first, and then try to copy the question answers. So thank you for today, children. All my best wishes for the day. Have a nice day. See you soon.